A huge benefit of owning a business is the write-offs that you can take that lower your overall taxable income, which results in you paying less taxes. I explain all about ordinary and necessary deductions in this video here. You can watch that. Actually, I would watch that before watching this one. So go ahead and go over there. I won't be mad, and then come back to this one. I explain a list of common deductions as well as some overlooked deductions that you could probably be taking. In this video, I'm showing you how to use the template that I use to track my deductions over the year. I know you could potentially just wait until the last minute and pull up all of your bank transactions at once at the end of the year and, go through it and then just bust it out in like 3 hours of work. I think it's a better idea to use a template like the one I'm sharing with you today so that you can stay on top of your finances month over month. Knowing exactly what's going on in your business financially month over month is going to get you on track to make sure that you get all of the deductions that you can when April comes around and you are meeting with your tax person. By the way, I always suggest you getting a tax person if you have a business because they are the most knowledgeable people when it comes to business taxes, and this video and the video previously is just for educational purposes only and based on my experience. I am not a tax person, so make sure that you always get a tax accountant to actually look at your books. It does really help though, and I hear it from my tax person every year that she is very grateful that I keep everything organized because it makes her life so much easier. So I'm excited to share this template with you. I will leave it down below so that you can use it for your business. Let's get right into it. Hola, ¿qué tal? ¿Cómo estás? My name is Maricruz. I'm an engineer, environmentalist, and entrepreneur. And in this channel, I show you how to build your small business while you're still working full time. That means I give you tools, insights, and inspiration, hopefully, to build the small business of your dreams and to get to a life of freedom, fulfillment, and joy. A quick note on who this video is for. This is for entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, co-founders, that are doing their own books. So it's not for someone that's using QuickBooks. QuickBooks actually categorizes your deductions for you, and your accountant can take from QuickBooks kind of like a report of your year and your expenses. So this video is more for people that are still doing their own books and want to keep track of their finances so that when they do meet with their tax person, they have everything all organized and they make sure that they get all of the deductions that they can. And like I said before, this year is the year for you to be on top of your finances so that you can get the most out of your business. So without further ado, let's jump right into the template. Okay, so here we are in the template. I would advise to start at the Read Me First tab. This is why I made this so that you know exactly how to use this. The instructions are hopefully easy to follow, and it starts all the way from downloading transactions from your bank. So if you don't have a specific business bank for your business, I think this will be a little bit more challenging, but hopefully you do have a business account just for your business so that you can just download everything and don't have to worry about which one's personal and which one's your business. If you do have a personal account that you're using, this is still totally doable. It's going to require a little bit more time. So once you download the transactions from your bank for the current month that you're looking at, let's say you're looking at January, you can filter that out in your bank and get a CSV format file. This is the regular Excel file format. You'll get something that looks sort of like this: the account name, the process date, description, whether it was a credit or debit, and the amount. This might look different for you. For some reason, my bank always says withdrawal debit right here, which is kind of annoying, but this is going to look something like this for you as well. So once you have this, as the instructions say, you copy and paste the transaction description and amount onto columns A and B of this workbook. So if we look here in the example tab, you have description and you have amount. You're going to copy down the description. So I would literally come here, select them all, and put copy, and then paste them onto here. I did clean this up a little bit, but it might look a little messy for you if you're just copy and pasting for this, but it's totally fine. You just need to know what the transaction was about. And then you also copy and paste. I would just literally select all of these, copy and paste onto this. So it should line up perfectly. You have your description, you have your amount, and then this section here, you fill out after. So let me go back here. Once you copy and paste the description, you fill in the category column by copying and pasting the exact words from categories word bank options. Okay, so if you go to this example tab here, there is a categories word bank. So because we are doing this pivot table here automatically, you do want to copy and paste directly from here because the spelling is very important. So for Coffee Cycle Roast, this is where I go and co-work, and whatever coffee I get two expenses. That's an ordinary and necessary expense in my opinion. So I would just go over here and go to meals and entertainment. I would copy and I would paste it right here. So obviously I already have this filled out because I wanted you to have an example here. So once you go in and you fill out all the categories, this pivot table on the right will automatically fill in for each category what that amount you spent in that month for that category. So this is super helpful because then you know exactly how much you spent in the month of January or whatever month you're in. And then I also included here a cell where you can put income this month. The little note here says pull from your Shopify, bank, or other tracker that you may have. I personally like having this here because then I can compare, okay, income this month was only $437, but my expenses were $734. So you could kind of see, okay, should I cut back on the spending or am I okay? So that's basically how this works. This example tab is available to you in the template, but what your month is going to look like is something like this. I just wrote on here, paste bank transactions here and categorize them in column C after. Again, I would go into my bank transactions. I would copy this, paste it onto the descriptions. Of course, you can make this smaller if you'd like. And then I would go to the amounts, copy, and paste. And that way you're lined up here with the description with the correct amount. And then I would go through and categorize everything. So Coffee Cycle, that is coffee that I got while I was working at the coffee shops. Copy meals and entertainment, paste it onto this category. You see it automatically updated here, the pivot table. The next was, again, the same. This was the same day, okay? So then it would add that up. And then let's say Rocket 36 is actually a gas station. So then I would go to the categories bank here and look for gas. Obviously, I could write gas, but it's just easier to copy and paste. And then you see this category pops up here now. It is not necessary for you to use every single one of these categories. It is not linked in any way to the other table. So if you have something else that you usually expense, but it's not in these categories, feel free to add it right here. Like for example, I don't pay health insurance through this business, but if you do, you can write it on here, health insurance, and then just use it. If I was to copy that over to here, it would just add that as another category. So this is not an all-inclusive list. You can add stuff to it and it's completely fine. As long as within here, you write it the exact same way. So if I was to write on here gasoline, you can see that it'll create a new line item here, a new category. It's not going to give me the correct amount for all of gas. It's not a smart enough system to recognize that these two things are the same thing. So you have to write it the exact same way, okay? You have, a tab for each month. So you'll go through each month and paste in your transactions and get a summary table. At the end of the year, this is end of year summary, EOY. You can go through each tab and finalize how much you spent on accounting, advertising, bank charges, etc., etc. So each of these categories, you would have to add up for all the months, and then you have your total amount for the year here. You can write any notes here. So this will be what you show your tax person when it comes to tax season. A few other things that are on here, of course, please consult with your tax advisor. This is for educational purposes only and only based on my experience. And this is not an extensive list, so make sure you check in with your person. At the end, you'll have here total income, then you will have total expenses. This does it automatically, and then it'll calculate your net taxable income. At the end of the year, you can have all of your expenses, all your deductions in a nice, clean place. And I swear your tax person is going to love you because you are making their life So much easier. If you forget how to use this, you could always go back to the Read Me First tab or the Example tab. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach me at hola@menoswaste.com, or you can watch the video instructions that I'm going to be posting. I don't have that video link yet because I'm literally recording that right now. So once that is available, I'll put that here. At the end here, I just have repeat for each month to stay on top of your finances this year. And at the end of the year, you can reference the pivot tables to add up your totals. It's definitely not as hard as it sounds, so don't worry about it. And then you can show up proudly to your tax appointment because you did all the work to make your tax person's life easier. Feel free to delete this tab once you think you have the hang of it. But again, don't hesitate to reach out. So there you have it. That is how you use my template. I hope this is useful for you. I will leave a link down below for you to get your hands on that template and start using it today. I know this video is publishing at the end of January, so the timing couldn't be more perfect. You can review your January expenses and make sure they're categorized in the correct order. By the way, I strongly suggest having a finance day once a month to review your expenses and your revenue as well, to see exactly where your business is at financially and use that to guide you in your actions for the next month, for the next quarter, and for the rest of the year. Remember, the benefit of a deduction is that it lowers your taxable income. So if you know exactly how much you've spent, how much you've made, and what would be the most helpful way of spending your money to get the most out of your tax deductions, that is where you want to be. Let's say it's November and you've made $50,000 in your business and you had about $40,000 of expenses. So that leaves taxable income of $10,000. And let's say that we've been thinking about getting this new piece of equipment and that piece of equipment is $8,000. If you know that you still have $10,000 in your taxable income, you can decide to make that purchase in December. And that way it lowers your taxable income to $2,000. Does that make sense? I hope it makes sense. This becomes increasingly important if you have a full-time job that brings in a lot of revenue, because the more expenses that you have, the less taxes that you will pay on your taxable income. So I know this can get a little tricky, but if you start getting a little bit flustered, just step back and think about it of just math. It's just math, right? You have your income, you have your expenses, and whatever the difference is, that's what you're going to get taxed on. So that little portion right there, you want to make that as small as possible. And you don't know how big that is or how small that is unless you keep track of your finances on a monthly basis or at least a quarterly basis. Again, talk to your tax person, but you should feel pretty confident in reporting expenses if you are actively working on your business. I know this type of video might get a lot of questions, so make sure you write down any questions in the comments to make sure that other community members can look at them. They probably have the same question you do. Another very important resource that we have as small business owners is time. Time, especially if you have a 9-to-5 job and you're doing your side business, time can be one of the most precious resources, right? And in this video, I show you how to understand your time and finally feel like you have time for it all. So I hope that video is helpful for you. Until next week, don't forget, poquito goes a long way. Ciao.